Hello and good evening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are doing another kind of second follow-up show to our show last night, where we were talking about how to live like the top 1%. And in our conversation yesterday, we identified that it's not just living as the top 1% as dictated by everyone around us, but really it's living according to our own 1%. What is possible? What is our own echelon of the 1%? And it looks different in different season of lives. We all live multiple lives. But it looks different in different seasons of life. And it also looks different in different categories and areas of our life. We talk about just in general on the show, but specifically last night, we talked about the cultivation of our core intelligences that encompass the human intelligence. So we talk a lot about cultivating intellectual intelligence. In fact, that's the number one primary intelligence we're taught to cultivate since we were children. We're taught to read, write, ABCs, mathematics, history. We're taught the cultivation of our intellect, and so much of our value in life is predicated on grades. It's predicated on the IQ. It's how successful were you in school? And up until, honestly, in the last decade, maybe a tiny bit longer, but really in the last decade, has there been a shift to no longer be so tied to the IQ? And now it's more so people look at your experience as part of what deems your value as a human being. But there's so much more to a human being beyond just the intellect. And part of these other intelligences are what contribute to our ability to gain experience in the first place. So the other intelligences are cultivating emotional intelligence, the EQ, physical intelligence. Our body stores data, it remembers what happens to us. And again, that contributes to the overall collective human experience. And then finally, spiritual intelligence. And so we talk a lot about each one of these categories and each one of these intelligences, because the goal is that in the human intelligence as a collective, we are fully developed in each category rather than being underdeveloped in one and even overdeveloped in another. I've seen it done so where people are overly developed even in the spiritual category and underdeveloped in the intellectual category. And wherever we're underdeveloped, it's dangerous. And wherever, honestly, we're overdeveloped, it's just as dangerous as well, because that means that so often that area of intelligence can come in like a hammer. We can see it with very, very religious people who are underdeveloped in other categories. They can come in and religion becomes a hammer. We see it with people who are very intellectually minded. They come in with their logic like a hammer. And so often, because that one area of intelligence is so over cultivated, we assign so much value on that because that's what we feel confident in. And then we diminish and actually weaken the other intelligences, whether it's somebody else who has a strength in one particular category. Because it's not ours, we don't value it as much, and we don't assign as much meaning and worth to what other people have to offer. So when we take a step back, like what we're doing tonight, and really look at the human intelligence, the human experience, and who we are and what we're made of, we see that there's so much more than just one or two, even three of these intelligences. And so in the cultivation of us becoming, to our point last night, the top 1% of our own selves, tonight we're focusing on a very, very similar topic, just with a different title. How do we become our best selves? And it's going to, again, it's going to look different from each other, and it's also going to look different season by season. So I'm excited to chat with you tonight. I'm excited for this topic. There's a lot left unsaid from last night's conversation. We ended up having an incredibly meaningful conversation in the chat. And so I've been telling folks over the last 2 weeks or so, we're going to be making some changes here. We're actually going to be having just different levels of effectively how much you can engage in the chat, because there's been a lot of disruption. And I really want to keep the integrity of the chat, because even just last night, it was so meaningful. Like, we all came and kind of rallied around each other, and it was everybody contributing to give advice and sharing from experience. The best advice comes from learned lessons and learned personal experience. And so each one of us is limited in a certain way. And so this is the benefit of community. This is the benefit of the chat. So there's a couple different chats going on right now. We've got one in the Knowing podcast. podcast. That is actually going to be combining with Christene Marie _knowing. That's going to be kind of the final place where the Knowing Show takes place. And then we've also got Foundation First Marketing, which is very much so focused on branding and marketing content for men and women in the trades, and frankly, just business in general, but very more so focused on the trade side of things. And then I'm also live on Facebook and LinkedIn. So we're live in a couple different places. So the conversations here in the chat, I get to see all the chats. And so I'm going to kind of raise a few comments that are meaningful and just kind of keep a thumb on the pulse of what's going on here in the chat. So with that, I'm going to dive in and check in on the chat. Callum, good to see you. Brian J, hello. Hi, Duke. Hi, Ducey. Good to see you. Zach's, good to see you. You said, why did you change your name? Do you mean change my name on my handle? I'm not sure what you mean. I don't think I've changed it, but you might be seeing a different stream. I'm not sure, but good to see you. Ineko, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Bruno, you're from Portugal. Hello. I'm very excited to visit Portugal one day. Handy Andy says, I value truth and evidence. Sleep says Jesus saves. I love it. Thank you for joining. Spiritual awakening, Scorpio. I love it. The younger generation taking over. God bless you. Good luck. We still need you. Don't go anywhere. Zax, thank you for being so kind. My music says, I'd say God bless you, but it looks like he already has. Hey, I'll take more, and God bless you back, my friend. Thank you for joining. Liz L Jazz, hiya, good to see you. Puchni says, just saying hi, can't stay for this one, but we'll watch later. Have a good stream. Thank you. We'll miss you. Y'all, it's been really, really cool over the last couple of, I guess, 2 months. There's been a lot of growth for each one of us who have been consistently engaging in the chat, engaging in these conversations. And each one of us, there's a lot of contribution that I've received from each one of you over the last couple of months. And in this conversation, in the chat, and also in the conversation tonight, we're going to be kind of doing almost like a summary of the practices in our lives that have really gotten us to the point where we're like, man, that was the best season of my life. I really was thriving in that time. I work with different founders and entrepreneurs on a one-to-one basis. There's a couple different ways that I work with people, but in this specific category, one-to-one. And what we'll do is we'll actually kind of look at the lifespan of their days. You know, what were the years that had probably the most transition? What moments in their life had the biggest impact? Because so much of the time we're influenced by those moments, and those moments impact the present. So much of how we show up today is because of what we experienced in the past. And that can be for good or for bad. And so the goal is that we are never taken by surprise, and we're never operating subconsciously, but we're living awake. We're living effectively with our full, all of our intelligences online and awake. And so we talked yesterday about the importance in terms of the physical intelligence, turning on each intelligence in the morning very intentionally. So like waking up early, that's a really, really important time for us to tend to our each intelligence, but it starts with kind of the physical intelligence. It starts with the physical body, waking up, making time in the morning to take that time and take that space and really honor the cultivation of every single intelligence. And so I would love to hear from you as we go. You know, what are the things? What are the practices? Because the principle here that we're talking about in each category is, how do I really, really operate at my highest and best physical self? How do I operate at the highest and best emotional self, intellectual self, spiritual self? When have I been most healthy in my relationship with God? When have I been most healthy with my relationship with myself, my relationship with others? When have I been most stimulated intellectually and really grown? And so I would love for each one of us to take a moment, and I'd love to hear from you guys physically. When have you been the most healthy self in your lives? Because the past, so often we can learn from that. We can learn from what were the actual practices we were doing that lended to that principle of really operating at that high level. So we were talking a couple times about some people who, you know, were waking up early yesterday, but also about folks who were taking time and going to the gym on a regular basis. Others were mentioning, we were talking about jujitsu as a really, really good outlet, specifically for men, and how that's really, really important. Lucky Buck says, advice on how to make more time in the morning. I wake up too late every day. Lucky Buck, it has started with the night before for me. Even tonight, my sister's coming into town, and I've been so excited to see her. And I know if I'm going to wake up early, I really need to go to bed. And so my bedtime the night before, if my one thing is to get up early, then I need to go to bed early the night before. DJ says, get up out of bed. And that's another, it sounds so simple. Putting my phone on the other side of the room so that when my alarm goes off, I have to get up out of bed to go turn my alarm off. It just gives me that extra, 25, 30 seconds of almost getting out of the subconscious state. And then I can make more of a conscious decision. Am I going to go back to bed or not? N8F says, devouring the word of God. I love that one for the spiritual intelligence side, because that has made such an impact in my life. I told a friend of mine the other day, these principles, these books, these words from God, reading them over and over again, it's like there's this biblical concept of hiding God's word in our heart. And so this is what I've experienced. I've experienced that God's word can come, yes, through words off of a page, but also like, what is God telling me? And so my mornings are spent so much, yes, waking up, yes, working out, in terms of engaging my physical body. Spiritually, it's taking time to listen, like really, really listen to what God is saying off of the words of a page, and also from his own divine revelation to me. Each one of us has this pathway to God, this like secret access, this treasure that is God's spirit and God's voice in us. And we get to learn every single day and get that unique revelation. DJ says, living in our unique individualistic worlds. It's so interesting because the more we cultivate ourselves kind of horizontally and vertically, then we're actually really able to give to the rest of the world, because we're giving from a full tank. So I'd love to hear, Hamza, good to see you. Ansha, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Dilbert, Hoopty, thanks for joining. I would love to hear from you guys in terms of what else has been really, really meaningful for you. Anything else physically? So we've got this element of waking up early. We've got going to the gym, working out. Spiritually, we were kind of getting into some ideas, but I'd love to hear what else. Like what else? Lucky Buck says, that makes sense. I may try putting my alarm further away. I love that. Anything else? And my church is your church. No, we're live. It's good to see you. PTS Demon, good to see you. What else physically, y'all? When have you been in the best physical state? And that doesn't mean that you necessarily are looking maybe your model ideal self, but it's like you felt good. One of the changes I've made physically that actually has really, really helped me has been, I've been adding minerals to my water. It sounds really, really simple, but a lot of water is kind of like zapped from, like the minerals are zapped from the water in the filtering process. And so there's something around adding the minerals to the water that have been really helping like quench my thirst. My sister-in-law actually taught me that, Christopher Adams. Intermittent fasting was a huge win last summer for me. I love that. I started doing intermittent fasting a couple years ago, and that span of time, that I think it's 16 hours, right? That 16 hours really, really helps. I also, for those of you who are carnivores, I did the carnivore diet, and that was huge for me because at the time I was waking up at 4 a.m. and I found myself like ready to eat before 5 a.m. And I was like, this is too early for me to be thinking about food. And so I did the carnivore diet. I only did it for 3 weeks, but it was so helpful. And it was funny. It felt like it staved off my mind from wandering about food. Lucky Buck says, it's been a few years. I'm trying to pick myself back up and take better care of myself. I love that. Good for you. I said this last night, and I don't, I had to explain it a little bit deeper, but I'm curious if this will resonate for you guys. You're worth it. Investing in yourself, investing in this vessel, this like I really believe this. I really believe, when you cut somebody open, when you do heart surgery, it's not like you find them, But man, our body is a vessel. It's like a temple. It's where our soul exists. It's like housing and encasing us, you and me. And it's like a precious, precious thing. And I actually grew up not really having a high value for the physical. It was more like a tool rather than something to really be taken care of. DJ says, best physical, spiritual, and mental I've ever been was when I was at my lowest, digging myself out of darkness. Wow. Honestly, that is so incredibly profound, and I know what you mean. It's like in those times of the most darkness do we actually experience the most light, because it's like our spiritual attunement. There really is an attunement. Like, I am so in my desperation, I'm so committed to the purification of myself from everything that's going to corrupt my healing process. I don't know what you would say for you, but I remember very specifically some of those moments where in the times of most grief is also when we experience the most joy. It was very strange, but I think that that's actually a beautiful thing, that the world and God works that way. Michael, I'm on the diet. I eat when I'm hungry. That's just me. I laugh, and also I imagine really doing that, like tending to yourself in that way when you actually are hungry, really just eating rather than eating at set meal times. Okay, going to Chris asks, PTS Demon says, the truth scares most. It exposes their own evils. PTS Demon, I think that's like exactly right. That's so much of why we need to do this work, is because it's like the more we ask these questions, like, when have I been most healthy? When have I been most healthy and veered off course? What happened? What took me off course? That's looking at the truth. That's looking in the mirror. That's doing the work. And doing the work is a scary thing, because what are we going to find? And there's uncertainty in that. Going to Chris Craft, you said, can I ask a super personal question? Yes, and I might save it towards the end of the show, just to not derail us. But yes, please feel free. Chris James, I'm sorry to hear you say that, but you're welcome to engage if you'd like. Patrick Rowe, 1 Corinthians 13:11. I don't know that one. The 1 Corinthians 13, 31. 1 Corinthians 10:31 was like our high school mantra, I guess you could say. All right, so I love that. PTS Demon, that's how I eat. I fast without trying. I eat when I need to, and it's based on cravings. I love that. Y'all, you know what? I got to tell you, I need to be more disciplined with what I eat. That's always been the case. Some people are like, I forget to eat. That's not my problem. I really like eating. And so I actually need to be intentional not to eat, and actually eat according to, do I need nourishment? Okay, good. Physical health. All right. So I would love to hear, I love this. Lucky Buck says, I stopped eating fast food and started packing healthy lunches. Now I'm trying to keep myself disciplined. Good for you. Y'all, this is why it's encouraging. I love hearing what you guys are doing. What's working for you. And this is just a really good reminder for me in terms of intermittent fasting. I think I'm going to go back to that. Another thing in terms of eating according to what you need, to be honest, when I was working out really early in the morning and then waiting to eat for so long, I felt like I actually was really losing energy and like losing steam by 11. So I think that there is something around, eating according to what your body needs, and knowing our bodies well enough to be able to eat according to, it's like really helping our bodies, and eating as a part of caretaking. Okay, so let's go ahead. Ima, good to see you. It's been a while. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here for this conversation. Yay. All right, let's go ahead and go to mentally. When have you been most healthy? And it's, when I say mental, I'm not talking about like mental health in that regard specifically. I'm talking more so about like intellectually. When have you been soundest? When have you been most, honestly, your best self on a cognitive, intellectual basis? PTSD, even raw foods. I think you're saying bright colors. Eat light, literally. Oh, I love that. eat light, literally. Hue light, manifested. We are beings of manifested light. I love that. Yeah, Christopher Adams says it's not really a question of how much you eat. It's more so the quality of what you eat that matters. That's so good. See, Martin Love, I do 16 and 8 intermittent fasting. Nice. Dracula, good to see you. There is comfortability in one's hell. You long for it. It's such an incredible lie that Screw Tape, C.S. Lewis, has you convinced the bad is actually good. Okay, I need to. I downloaded Screw Tape Letters a couple weeks ago, and I never actually got around to listening to it. So, man, okay, I'm turning my phone on airplane mode. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but this is like my 4th phone call in half an hour. Probably spam. Yay, the man in the hat. Good to see you. Jake, good to see you. Desiree. All right, let's go ahead and go to, we're just talking for those of you who are joining. We're talking about cognitively. When have you been most healthy cognitively? What were you doing? What were the practices that you were kind of implementing in your life? So an example of that, I've worked with very few, but I've worked with a couple coaches, and that's actually been really, really helpful just to honestly get other people's perspective. Like, God only knows, I did not grow up. I didn't grow up with very forward leaning, like, this is how you be an entrepreneur. This is how you be successful. Like, it was kind of more simple. It wasn't some big driven, striving for greatness type of environment. It was just very loving, which I really appreciate. And at the same time, I think that in the chaos of the driven, a lot of times there can be a lack of love, and it can be driven, predicated more so in fear. So I've had to learn, okay, how can I maintain love for myself and for others while still being driven and having a dream for something bigger? Like Theodore Roosevelt talks about in his quote, or in his speech, Citizens in the Republic, he talks about the man in the arena. How can I self-perpetuate and propel myself into the arena when I'm not motivated by hate? Or, to your point, DJ, like motivated by hell? So I'd love to hear what are the things you've done that have really, really impacted you cognitively, mentally, intellectually. What's up? Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. It's been a little while. We're just talking about how to be our best selves. For me, I have to close my bedroom door, turn off the lights and TV, I'm not to be pitch black in my room, so I can be at peace with myself. Helps my mind and soul. Oh, I love that. Honestly, what a good practice. Just like really, in fact, this morning I did something similar. I did turn off my light, and I closed my eyes, and I laid down, and I did a little meditation for about, I think it was an 11-minute meditation, but man, it was exactly what I needed this morning. It was really profound. So I love that. What else, y'all? What has been Suraj? Good to see you. Just looking through here. Challenging myself, reading, listening. I'm doing it now. DJ, when you say challenging yourself, what specifically are you doing these days that is challenging for you? Even you saying that, though, to be honest, I appreciate that, because I think that so much of my life over the last 4 years, I had actually gotten to this point where it had been so challenging for me to be vulnerable. I had never learned to be vulnerable before. And so I started practicing that, and it was really so uncomfortable, so challenging. But as I started to do it more, I got comfortable with it. And so then it's like, okay, if I'm going to get to the next level in another area, so now discipline is like my focus for this year. How am I going to really exist within the confines of discipline and really get to that next level? And so it's like the constant challenge, and nobody else can tell us what we need, because we know. And so I'm curious what you do. I love reading, listening. I'm doing it now. I love it. I would say after I'm about 8. Oh, Patrick. I'm about 8 into a 12-pack. Greed is a disease. Mara, good to see you. Vane, good to see you. Maywinkle, I'm going to go ahead and I'd love for you to not talk like that. So if you're going to talk like that, I'll need to probably block you since you were talking like that last night. But I'd love to hear from you. Like, I'd love to get to know you. I feel like you probably have a lot of good things to say. Mara, I'm doing good. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining. I love it. Jake says it's not that complicated. Just stay consistent with the obvious. It needs to be a lifestyle. And to that point, I'm curious, Jake, like, what are your habits like in terms of how to make something a lifestyle? You know, for us, you know, it's like, okay, well, how do you wake up early? How do you, what, and here's the thing, maybe your lifestyle actually doesn't include waking up early. Maybe you're more of a night owl. And so is it a lifestyle is based on habits, or is it that it's more so kind of like you've got the general blocks of time and then you fill in the time accordingly? I'm curious about that. Patrick, that's so interesting. You know, you say, I know you don't want to hear this. This is where I actually think it's important to, this is like different points of views, you know, like hearing from what really does motivate you. You said, but it ain't what you're talking about. But if it wasn't for booze and smokes, I wouldn't have ever went to work. So really it was like the drinking and the smoking is what motivated you. I'm curious if that, you know, that initially started you going to work. I'm curious if now that still holds the same appeal, or if that still is a core motivator for you. DJ says writing, music, code, poetry. Ah, I love it. I'm so excited, y'all, for those of you who are going to be in the Knowing community that we're going to be starting in March. You know, I'm so excited to see the things you all have created. Somebody else was talking about writing the other day. And so I'm just excited to see some of your work. If you guys are willing to share, it would be an honor. So I'm excited to see that. You know, I think that the act of creation has been so lost in so many ways. You know, we don't take a lot of time to create in so many ways. And so I love that our community would be a place where we co-create with each other, or just encourage each other to create, to get beyond, you know, talk about being your best self and getting to the next level in your life. And then when we can have people cheering us on to cultivate ourselves in those ways, that really is like not just leveling up and being our best selves, but we're actually creating something new. And to get to that point of creation, I feel like that really is probably one of the biggest signs of health. Air Force Matt, we don't talk like that, but I'm glad you're here, and would love to hear from you in this regard. You know, we're having a good chat, so I'm going to go ahead and put you on timeout if you don't, but I would love to hear from you. Okay, I am going back. I lost my place in the chat. Dilbert. Each morning when I wake, I remind myself of 3 things I'm grateful for. 𝐴𝐚𝐸s and Thanksgiving are our weapons against anxiety. I'm just going to pin this. 𝐴𝐚𝐸s and Thanksgiving. I love the way you said that, Christopher. I really, really do. Gratitude and our targets. Like that's kind of, those are the 2 words I use, but I like 𝐴𝐚𝐸s and Thanksgiving. You know, we have so much to be grateful for. And where we place our attention is where our energy is going to go. So if we're going to place our attention on everything we hate in the world, our energy is going to go there. We're going to find all of the reasons that life sucks if that's where we're placing our attention. Or we can place our attention on gratitude. And I love the reason, like one of the big reasons why I love that you've got both there, Christopher, is because if we are only focusing on our targets and on our ideal and the 𝐴𝐚𝐸s, we're not really living in the present. But gratitude, having that mindset of Thanksgiving kind of grounds us in the now. And it's like, man, look at how good life is, even while I'm still chasing something and pursuing something. And I've got another aim for tomorrow, and that's going to drive how I live today. But it doesn't mean it's taking me out of the present and taking me out of this moment. So I just wanted to thank you for that. That's so wise. Benjamin, I lost it for the same woman 3 times. Loss is bad. Oh, you're telling me, man, loss is so painful. Loss is so painful. And sometimes it's the thing that kicks us into gear. You know, I don't know if that was your experience, but I found that loss, like the more profound the loss, the more I'm like cut open and the more growth that comes as a result of that, so long as I choose to heal as a result of it. Paris, good to see you. Siraj, I love you a latte. The man in the hat. I would, my best is now. I'm aware of my self-talk being positive. I'm always asking myself what I am feeling and why. The Lord accepting my life when I was ready to give it up had the biggest impact on me. Wow. It's so good. So he's at his best now. I'm aware of my self-talk being positive. I always ask myself what I'm feeling and why. And then effectively, I love this, like accepting your life when you are ready to give it up. That's so huge. And asking the Lord to accept your life. Okay, so self-talk being positive, that kind of goes to what you're saying, Christopher, with like what are you speaking out and what are you focusing on? Where are you placing your attention? Because then your energy goes there. My ultimate challenge is turning off my brain. It never ends. Ugh, word. That's so good. Benjamin says you need detachment. It's so good. DJ, that's so important. I love that you say that. Turning off our brains. I think the ability to control our mind, talk about when we're healthy mentally, the ability to control our minds is, I think, one of the most powerful pursuits that we can have. Let's see. Vincent, hello. Dave, thank you. Thank you for joining. What's up? I am the gladiator in my arena. I'm the champion of my destiny. I love that. I'm the gladiator in my arena. That's epic. Ali, good to see you. You rely on relationships, Benjamin said. It's so true. And that's where it's like, okay, what is the quality of my relationship? So let's actually talk about that. We have these four intelligences: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, but relationships so often are kind of like the external manifestation of the health of ourselves. And so I'd actually love to know, like, how are the quality of your relationships? Do you guys feel like you're aligned? You've got people that your values aligned with. You've got people that are encouraging you, that see you, that know you, that challenge you. What's the quality of your relationships? Just going to wait a second so that you guys can answer that. I'm a little bit behind in the chat. All right. I'm going to do this. I like saving what you guys say so that I can go back and visit later. So I'm just copying it and saving it because it doesn't let me do that. When you pin something, I can't read the rest of the comments. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I guess I won't pin it then. Okay, so 𝐥𝐤𝐨, hello. Good to see you. Diva, thank you. I love my necklace. When you can't turn off your brain means you need to exercise. Interesting. Honestly, I could totally see that. Sakil, hello. Good to see you. Humanity, Red Ball says, the things coming through us will transform us. We must simply surrender and yield to the process. Add water to the clay. Oh, I love that. That's good. Emma says, yes, life does suck so much going on right now. Patrick says, yes. Sakil says, yeah. Man. Y'all, it is interesting. There's so much that is painful right now. And I think that it really is the question of, what do we want in terms of, when we ask that question, what do you want? Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? Because we really can choose what we focus on. And when we look for the bad, we're going to find it. But also when we look for the good, we're going to find it. And so the question is, what do you want to find? What do you want to see? What do you want to be true in your life? I was talking with a friend, and I was just thinking, their partner, it's really easy for the partner to just get super, super negative. But there's also so many beautiful things in their lives that the partner could focus on if they so chose. And so the question is, where are you going to place your attention? And do you want to grow? Do you want to heal? Do you want to experience life as being beautiful? Do you want to love other people? Do you want to serve? Do you want to be powerful, because we have power. Like when we live awake, when we live to the fullness of who 𝐸𝐞𝐫 you were made to be, and Patrick, who you were made to be, Gabriel, there's so much good that we really can, there's really so much good that we can give. Going back to the chat, DJ says, I'd say I've utilized self-talk that some would say is negative, but it works for me. Yeah, other people have it worse, and it helps me to stop feeling sorry for myself. I think that I hear what you're saying. It's funny. I feel like I need both. It's not that bad. It could always be worse. It's like what is called for in the moment. Honestly, there was a moment earlier today where I just really needed to move through the frustration I was feeling to get to the other side of it, rather than, because sometimes having that self-talk where it's like, oh, it could always be worse, it actually suppresses what I'm feeling, and then all it does is push it down, rather than allowing myself to be like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have to do everything in my life. That's how I was feeling earlier today. And even just by acknowledging, like, okay, like letting it go, then I was able to really honestly be totally fine within probably 60 seconds. But if I had pushed it down, I don't know if I would have really moved through it. So I'm curious if both are helpful, or if it's always like, no, like that's always my go-to. That always works. Okay. Paris says, what's your point of view on today's Gen Zs? Oof. That's a hard one. What's funny? I think I need to engage with them more to have a really strong point of view. I think that I can bundle everybody together. All I know is that every single generation, I think for the last century, the one before it says, oh, this is the worst generation. And then with every single generation, the internet is invented, or some incredible technological breakthrough. So I guess I have hope. I feel like there's nothing new under the sun, even though AI is insane. And I have no idea. I feel like that's new in so many ways. So much of the time that the generation after us is a product of our own making. And so for us to judge and criticize and get upset, maybe they're actually a mirror for us and what we've created ourselves. So I think I probably am a little bit more, I view it more so as a mirror than anything. I have a friend who their daughter really can drive them crazy. And the thing that their daughter drives them crazy about is actually just triggering wounds of the past for them. So that doesn't excuse anything. People still have to bear the responsibility of their actions and their choices. Yet for me, I tend to use other people more so as a mirror for how can I grow? How can I change? How can I be better? That's the only thing I can control to an extent, unless that's my mission. Unless my mission is this next generation, then perhaps I really would analyze and consider and be like, here's everything wrong and here's all the solutions. Because another thing that has been something I've observed, where people will call out all the problems but not have solutions, not really truly. Like, I'm going to call for, well, I'm not going to say that example because I don't like getting political here. If I don't like something, what is the solution? How would I change it? How would I take radical responsibility to change something in the world that I don't like? It's like what Martin Luther King Jr. did. We've been talking about him the last couple of days. Him saying, I have a dream. And he changed everything, like really catalyzed it. Granted, with the help of so many people around the world. And it was on the back of generations of crying out for the injustice. But at the same time, I went to Harper's Ferry, Virginia, a couple weeks ago, or a month or two ago at this point. And John Brown was the one that actually started the Civil War. And it was this lone man with like 30 people that went and stormed an armory in random West Virginia, U.S. State Armory, and attacked it to call for slaves to be free. So many people don't know about John Brown, and he started it because he finally took the action that was required for something big to change, but it cost him his life. So many of these things of if we have a dream, what are we really willing to pay to bring it about? And will this cost me every part of me? And am I willing to pay that price? Okay, going back to the chat. All right, going back to the chat. We are here. Okay. Patrick says, I already lived my life. Are you ever done living? Catchy electro music. Hello. Easy time creates easy people. Easy people create hard times. Hard times create hard people. And then hard people. It's what a word. It's so true. We really do self-perpetuate our, like, the cycles, you know. Even a friend of mine, you know, he grew up pretty, you know, wanting for food, and self-made millionaire, very successful, and his children have it so easy, and he's nervous about raising spoiled brats. And it's like, well, okay, how do you not do the opposite and do the reverse and have such an extreme change? I just love that you said that easy time creates easy people. So good. These nuts, man. Philosophy, what a lovely concept, but it doesn't get anything done. And you know what's so interesting? I love, Patrick, that you brought that up, because this is why we need to talk about the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Because if you camp out in just one of these categories, you're not engaging the full human being, you know? And so much of us talking about what does it look like to live as our best selves, it's how do I engage each part of me so that I can show up and make real change predicated on deeply thoughtful, processed, either philosophical dreams. You know, like there was a philosophical angle of what Martin Luther King Jr. was preaching. It was deeply rooted in philosophy, yet there was real action he was taking. So I love what you're saying in terms of, like, we've got to be holistic. We've got to show up in so many ways. DJ, yeah, Harper's Ferry was definitely a coordinated attack, and he definitely thought that there was going to be more people coming to help him, and they didn't come. Humanity says that desire is the root of so much suffering. The first half, I wasn't depressed and I wasn't happy, but I was tired of everything and wanted to go. Martin Luther King is part of the arranged political site that actually caused racism. Oh, I have never heard that perspective. Eric, hi, good to see you. Patrick, oh my gosh. The constant is in the middle of the pendulum swing. Yes. Nobody else knows this except a random post in the comment section here on YouTube, if that's how that song. D's Nuts says, forget about politics and historical people. Focus on the creator and the creation we live in. Nothing else matters. Man, isn't it two sides of every coin? It's like yes and yes. Focus on the creator and the creation we live in. Nothing else matters. Be present. All we have is now. And, you know, there are lessons to be learned, and not even just lessons to be learned. It's inspiring. I do get inspired so often by these stories. And to your point, these nuts, you know, I've been feeling very called lately to just live almost like with a horse with blinders on. Like, I'm not looking at what other people say. And yes, Eric, I did just say your name. I live with a horse with blinders on. Like, I'm not looking at what other people are doing. I'm not distracted. It is so easy to be swayed and to live in the comparison game. I think it was Theodore Roosevelt that said, comparison is a thief of joy. Doctors can't, oh gosh, Patrick, isn't that so true? Guy that comments, hi, first. Second, our life is momentary, but our choices are forever. All right, let's go to emotional. What are the practices that you have engaged in emotionally where you found that you've been most healthy on an emotional level? I'd love to hear from you guys. Oh man, Man in the Hat. I just saw your quote from the song by Lauren Daigle. That's so beautiful. Oh my. Hi, DNA. Good to see you. It's been a while. Jason, hello. I'm glad to see you. Sirach, reading the book of Psalms out loud to people in the voice of James Earl Jones helps me relax. I love it. I love that. All right. Let me go down to... All right. I'm going back down to the chats. I was just catching up on some of the chats that I had missed. Let me go down to the bottom again. The Mudski, hello. Good to see you. Sammy Sosa, hello. I'm so glad you're here. All right. So I had asked, what are some practices emotionally that have really, really helped you? Medette, thank you for asking. I think most of the subject got lost in the chat. Oops, sorry guys. All right. Observation of every emotional state. Ooh, that's good. I asked the question of what has been most helpful for you emotionally to be healthy. Observation of every emotional state. I love that. Christian says, is gooning bad for you? I don't know what gooning is, so I can't answer that. Hold on, I'm closing a tab because I think I'm getting freezing up. Yeah, I can tell I'm freezing. I think I'm back. Sorry. I'm closing some tabs. I don't know what some of the words you guys are saying are, so I can't answer it. Okay. Oh my. I'm just scrolling down because it seems like we're going in kind of some crazy directions. Tommy, good to see you. To my Montana, hello. Thomas from Italy, hello. All right. I think practices like making yourself priority in any situation, Jake says. You know, I had never done that, and I have found a lot of value in prioritizing my health so that I actually can give from a full cup. And that has been so important. Even right now, to be honest with you, I'm talking and I can tell I'm starting to get like a little bit of a sore throat. And I'm like, oh, I got to go to bed soon. You know, like, okay, what do I need to do then? I've got to go to Staples tonight. I have to work on my dad's presentation for tomorrow. And so it's like, okay, all of a sudden I just have to make a whole bunch of choices because of that little tickle in my throat. And I know I've got this big event tomorrow. So being able to prioritize yourself, I think that you're making a really good point. Like, am I healthy? Am I healthy physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally? Because other things, other people, everything in our life is going to suffer if we're not well. So I just love that you said prioritizing ourselves. Tommy Johnson, hello, Virginia Beach. You're close to me, 2 hours away. Taylor, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Tate, hello. You said answer it. I don't know what you asked. Let me go back up. Kata says, do you speak French? No, I wish. I actually was doing French on Duolingo, but I didn't get very good. I observe and analyze every emotion. Yeah, I hear what you're saying on the observing the emotion. You know, it's funny. Actually, a friend of mine, Chris Gray, was on here a week or two ago. So if you guys go back and find Chris Gray's episode, so good. He's just this big burly man, freaking heck of an entrepreneur. So incredible. And he said that one of the things that he has been doing that's been helpful to him is to notice the emotion and feel it and then observe it. And so it's almost like observing it, but not analyzing it, I guess. So observing, feeling it, and then analyzing. And I thought that that was really, really good, because until we can feel it, we can only then after let it go. We can't let it go until we move through it. So I think that that was a really, really good distinction. All right, y'all, I am going to hop off. I can feel myself getting a little sick. Thank you all so much for joining. You know, there's been so many good moments and comments here about how to live according to our best self. So many good ideas. So really appreciate you guys. And a couple of things. One, I think Puchni, I know that you jumped off, but he suggested I'm doing a retreat at the end of this month. I might make it a virtual retreat. I was going to do it in Scottsdale, Arizona, but I might do it a digital virtual retreat. Would you guys be interested in that? I've never done a virtual retreat. Every retreat I've ever hosted was in person, and it's like very awesome. So I'm just curious if you guys would ever, I'm just looking, D's Nuts says, just ignore the tickle in your throat and take care of business. Well, I'm about to take care of business, trust me. But I am going to go to bed early, and that's also part of taking care of myself. I'd be interested if you guys would be interested in joining that if we did that. So let me know. I will be on tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for a daily course in miracles. And then tomorrow evening, honestly, I'll probably go live late because we have this event and it ends at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So I'll probably go live around 10 Eastern just to be safe. So a hidden oasis in desert sounds cool. Yeah, well, that's Scottsdale. All right, y'all, I am going to jump off. Thank you all so much for joining tonight. I will see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. And then I'll see you tomorrow night, probably around 10 p.m. And we'll continue the conversation. All right, y'all.